First contact and misunderstanding. The vast expanse of space had always beckoned humanity, a siren call that whispered of adventure and discovery. But on that fateful day in 2047, as the first human deep space exploration vessel, the UES Horizon, pushed beyond the boundaries of our solar system, no one could have predicted the cataclysmic chain of events that would follow. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the horizon, her dark eyes fixed on the swerving vortex of a wormhole that had suddenly appeared before them. It was unlike anything humanity had ever encountered, a tear in the very fabric of space-time, pulsing with ethereal energy. "Dr. Emerson," Chen called out, her voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her veins. "What are we looking at?" The ship's chief scientist, a lanky man with wild gray hair, was hunched over his console, fingers flying across holographic displays. It's incredible, Captain. The readings suggest it's an artificial construct. Someone, or something, made this wormhole." A hush fell over the bridge crew as the implications sank in. They weren't alone in the universe, and whoever was out there had technology far beyond their own. "Options?" Chen asked, her mind racing through protocols that had never anticipated this scenario. Before anyone could respond, the wormhole flared with blinding intensity. When the light faded, a massive ship hung in space before them, its hull gleaming with an almost organic sheen. It dwarfed the horizon, making humanity's most advanced vessel look like a toy in comparison. "My God," someone whispered. Chen straightened her shoulders. This was the moment humanity had both dreamed of and feared for centuries. "Open a channel," she ordered. "All frequencies, all languages. Let's hope they understand the concept of peace." But as the Horizon's communication officer began broadcasting their carefully crafted first contact message, something went terribly wrong. The alien vessel's surface rippled, and before anyone could react, a beam of searing energy lanced out, slicing through the Horizon's hull like it was paper. Alarms blared as the ship's AI reported multiple breaches. Chen barked orders, trying to stabilize their dying vessel, even as she wondered what they could have possibly done to provoke such an attack. Unknown to the humans, their peaceful greeting had been grotesquely misinterpreted. The Zarkath Empire, a sprawling civilization spanning thousands of worlds, had been locked in a brutal war with another alien race for centuries. Their translators, calibrated for combat and conquest, had twisted the Horizon's message of friendship into something far more sinister. To the Zarkath, it seemed the primitives in the tiny vessel had just issued the gravest of insults, challenging the Empire's supremacy and threatening annihilation. It was absurd, of course, but the Zarkath were not known for their sense of humor or restraint. As the UES Horizon broke apart, escape pods jettisoning into the void, the Zarkath ship's commander, High Admiral Vextor, felt a flicker of disappointment. Surely these beings, capable of reaching the stars, would have put up more of a fight? No matter. The Empire would crush this new threat as it had crushed so many others. Little did Vextor know that the single shot fired that day would ignite a conflict unlike any the galaxy had ever seen. For in targeting the Horizon, the Zarkath had awakened a sleeping giant, humanity, with all its resourcefulness, determination, and capacity for both compassion and terrible fury. Back on Earth, as garbled distress signals from the Horizon reached home, governments and militaries scrambled to make sense of the situation. In the halls of power and on social media feeds, confusion gave way to anger, then resolve. Dr. Amelia Rodriguez, the architect of humanity's faster-than-light drive, stood before the United Earth Council, her face grim. "Ladies and gentlemen," she said, her voice carrying the weight of history, "we are not alone in the universe, and we are at war." The council chamber erupted in a cacophony of voices, fear and outrage mingling in equal measure. But amidst the chaos, a plan was already forming in Amelia's mind. Humanity might be outgunned and outnumbered, but they had something the Zarkath couldn't possibly anticipate: millennia of thinking outside the box, of turning weaknesses into strengths. As the UEC mobilized for conflict on an unimaginable scale, Amelia retreated to her lab. The fate of humanity would depend not on matching the aliens' advanced technology, but on using what they had in ways that enemies could never expect. Across the globe, factories retooled for war production, and a call went out for volunteers. Humanity had always been at its best when faced with adversity, and now with extinction looming, that indomitable spirit would be put to the ultimate test. In orbit, the remnants of Earth's fledgling space fleet prepared for battle, knowing they were hopelessly outmatched. But as Captain Chen, one of the few survivors of the horizon, addressed the assembled pilots and crew, there was no fear in her eyes, only steely determination. "They may have the advantage in technology," she said, her voice carrying to every ship in the makeshift armada. "But we have something they can't comprehend. We have the entirety of human history behind us, every battle fought, every obstacle overcome. We are the descendants of those who crossed oceans in wooden ships, who reached the moon with computers less powerful than a modern toaster. We are humanity, and we do not go gently into that good night." A cheer went up, echoing through ship corridors and across comm channels. As the first wave of Zarkaf ships appeared at the edge of the solar system, humanity stood ready. They were outnumbered, outgunned, and facing an enemy they barely understood. But they had one advantage the Zarkaf couldn't possibly fathom: the sheer, bloody-minded refusal to accept defeat that had defined their species since they first looked up at the stars and dared to dream. The battle for Earth was about to begin, and with it, a war that would reshape the galaxy. The Zarkaf thought they had encountered another primitive species to be crushed under the Empire's heel. They were about to learn just how wrong they were. As the alien armada approached, Dr. Rodriguez's voice crackled over the fleet-wide channel. "Remember," she said, "they expect us to fight like they do. So let's show them how humans wage war, good hunting, and give them hell." With that, Operation Trojan Horse began. The fate of humanity hung in the balance, but in the hearts of every soldier, scientist, and civilian, a fire burned, the unshakable belief that somehow, against all odds, they would find a way to win. The stars themselves seemed to hold their breath as the two forces hurtled towards their inevitable collision. The war for Earth and the future of the galaxy was about to begin. The alien invasion begins. The Zarkaf invasion fleet emerged from hyperspace in a blaze of exotic particles, their massive ships casting long shadows across the face of the moon. Earth's defenders, a cobbled-together assortment of hastily retrofitted civilian vessels and experimental military prototypes, looked pathetically small in comparison. But appearances, as humanity was about to prove, could be deceiving. Admiral Yuki Tanaka stood on the bridge of the makeshift flagship, a converted cruise liner now bristling with jury-rigged weapons. Her weathered face, usually stoic, bore a hint of a smile. "All ships, commence Operation Fly in the Ointment," she commanded. Across the fleet, engineers and hackers sprang into action. In the weeks since first contact, they had been working round the clock on a daring plan. Instead of trying to match the Zarkaf's advanced technology, they would turn it against them. Dr. Zara Patel, a brilliant quantum physicist with a penchant for unorthodox solutions, had made a startling discovery. The Zarkaf ships emitted a unique quantum signature to coordinate their movements. With a bit of ingenuity and a lot of caffeine, she had figured out how to hijack that signal. As the alien fleet moved into attack formation, their ships suddenly began to drift out of alignment. Confused chatter filled the Zarkaf command channels as captains tried to regain control of their vessels. High Admiral Vextor, his tentacles writhing in agitation, barked orders to his subordinates. "What is the meaning of this? How are these primitives interfering with our quantum net?" But the chaos was only beginning. Earth's defenders had another trick up their sleeves. Carlos Mendoza, a former street artist turned tactical genius, had come up with an idea so crazy it just might work. "Time to paint the sky," he said, grinning as he hit the launch button. From the hulls of Earth's ships erupted thousands of tiny drones, each no bigger than a hummingbird. As they swarmed towards the Zarkaf fleet, they began to release clouds of nanobots, microscopic machines programmed with a very specific purpose. The nanobots attached themselves to the hulls of the alien ships, using the enemy's own energy emissions to power themselves. Then, with mathematical precision, they began to etch intricate patterns into the ship's outer layers. At first, the Zarkaf didn't even notice. But as the patterns spread, covering more and more of their fleet, something extraordinary began to happen. The precise arrangements of nanoscale grooves and channels started to interact with the quantum fields the aliens used for propulsion and weapons targeting. Zarkaf energy beams, once lethally accurate, now scattered in prismatic bursts, missing their targets by miles. Their shield harmonics fluctuated wildly, creating gaps that even Earth's relatively primitive weapons could exploit. By the Emperor's tentacles, Vextor roared, watching in disbelief as his mighty armada was effectively neutered by what looked like graffiti. What sorcery is this? But humanity's ingenuity didn't stop there. Dr. Amelia Rodriguez, working with a team of xenobiologists, had made a fascinating discovery about Zarkaf physiology. The aliens were hypersensitive to certain frequencies of sound, frequencies that humans could barely perceive. Time to face the music, Rodriguez quipped as she activated the next phase of Earth's defense. Every speaker, every communication device on the planet and in orbit began broadcasting a carefully composed symphony. To human ears, it was a stirring melody, a battle hymn to rally the defenders. To the Zarkaf, it was an unholy cacophony, scrambling their thoughts and playing havoc with their equilibrium. Across the alien fleet, Zarkaf warriors collapsed in disorientation, unable to operate their complex weapons systems. Those that managed to launch fighters found their pilots veering wildly off course, their sense of direction completely disrupted by the auditory assault. Admiral Tanaka watched with grim satisfaction as the tide of battle shifted. "All ships, press the advantage," she ordered. "But remember, we're fighting to survive, not to exterminate. Disable when possible, destroy only when necessary." Earth's defenders surged forward, their motley fleet moving with surprising coordination. They had trained for this, rehearsing complex maneuvers that made use of their ship's smaller size and greater maneuverability. Carlos Mendoza's voice crackled over the comm. "Activating Operation Disco Inferno," he announced. Suddenly, the space around Earth lit up with a dazzling light show. Holographic projectors, hastily mounted on satellites and ship hulls, filled the void with a bewildering array of false targets and illusory explosions. To the Zarkaf, already reeling from the sonic attack and the quantum disruption, it was the final straw. Their targeting systems, designed to track energy signatures, went haywire, unable to distinguish real threats from the phantom images that now filled their sensors. High Admiral Vextor, his mighty dreadnought reduced to drifting helplessly through the chaos, felt something he had never experienced before: doubt. These humans, these supposed primitives, were fighting unlike any species the Empire had ever encountered. They weren't just thinking outside the box. They had taken the box, turned it inside out, and were now using it as a weapon. As the battle raged on, news of humanity's unexpected resistance spread across the galaxy. On countless worlds under Zarkaf domination, subjugated species watched in awe as the mighty empire was fought to a standstill by a race they had never even heard of. But the war was far from over. Even as Earth celebrated its first victory, the Zarkaf were regrouping, adapting to humanity's unconventional tactics. The real test was yet to come. Dr. Rodriguez, watching the battle unfold from her lab, allowed herself a moment of pride. But she knew the hard work was just beginning. "All right, people," she said to her team, "they've seen our opening move. Time to show them what else we've got up our sleeves." As the Zarkaf fleet retreated to lick its wounds, humanity prepared for the next phase of the war. They had bloodied the nose of a galactic superpower, but the fight for survival, and for their place among the stars, was only just beginning. In the depths of space, on worlds unknown to humans, other races watched with growing interest. The balance of power in the galaxy was shifting, and at the center of it all was a species that, until a few weeks ago, no one had even known existed. The age of humanity had begun, and the universe would never be the same. The quantum gorilla. In the aftermath of Earth's surprising defense, the war took an unexpected turn. Rather than regrouping for another frontal assault, the Zarkaf adopted a new strategy, one that would challenge humanity in ways they couldn't have imagined. Dr. Zara Patel stood before a holographic display of the solar system, her brow furrowed in concentration. "They're up to something," she muttered, studying the bizarre energy readings emanating from the outer planets. Suddenly, alarms blared across every research station and military base on Earth and its colonies. The Zarkaf had unleashed their secret weapon, the quantum destabilizer. Massive generators, hidden in the shadows of gas giants and asteroid belts, began to warp the very fabric of space-time around them. Gravitational waves rippled across the solar system, playing havoc with Earth's carefully calibrated defenses. Admiral Tanaka's voice crackled over the emergency broadcast system. "All hands, brace for impact. We're dealing with technology beyond our current understanding." As the quantum distortions intensified, chaos erupted across human-controlled space. On Mars, entire cities phased in and out of existence, trapped between dimensions. The Moon's orbit began to destabilize, threatening catastrophic tides on Earth. In orbit, the human fleet found itself fighting an enemy they could barely perceive. Zarkaf ships flickered in and out of reality, striking with impunity before vanishing into quantum foam. Dr. Rodriguez, watching the unfolding disaster from her lab in the Andean Mountains, felt a chill run down her spine. "They're not trying to conquer us," she realized. "They're trying to erase us from existence itself." But even in the face of this existential threat, humanity's ingenuity flickered to life. Deep in an underground bunker, a team of physicists led by Dr. Akira Kimura had been working on a secret project, the Quantum Entanglement Network, TEN. Originally designed as an instantaneous communications system, Kimura saw its potential as a weapon against the Zarkaf's reality-warping technology. "We can't fight them in normal space," Kimura explained to a hastily assembled war council, "so we'll fight them in quantum space." The plan was audacious, bordering on insane. Using the TEN, specially trained human operatives would project their consciousness into the quantum realm, becoming what Kimura called probability ghosts. These spectral warriors could navigate the Zarkaf's distorted reality, striking at the heart of their operations. "It's not without risks," Kimura warned. "If an operative's entanglement is severed while in the quantum realm, their consciousness could be lost forever." Despite the dangers, volunteers flooded in. Among them was Carlos Mendoza, the street artist turned tactical genius. "Time to paint outside reality itself," he quipped as he stepped into the entanglement chamber. As the first wave of quantum gorillas deployed, the tide of battle shifted once again. The Zarkaf, masters of manipulating macro-scale quantum effects, found themselves outmaneuvered by humans operating on the most fundamental levels of reality. Carlos, his consciousness stretched across probability waves, led a daring raid on the quantum destabilizer orbiting Jupiter. To normal senses, the facility was untouchable, phasing in and out of existence. But to the quantum gorillas, it was a fixed point in a sea of possibility. The battle was unlike anything either species had experienced before. Human operatives, existing as superpositions of quantum states, danced through Zarkaf defenses. They sabotaged equipment by altering the probability of component failure and redirected energy flows by nudging electrons into higher orbitals. High Admiral Vextol, watching his carefully laid plans unravel, felt the first stirrings of fear. These humans weren't just adapting to Zarkaf technology, they were rewriting the rules of warfare itself. But the quantum conflict took its toll. Operatives returned from missions changed, their perceptions altered by exposure to fundamental reality. Some spoke in equations instead of words, while others seemed to exist in multiple timelines simultaneously. Dr. Potel, monitoring the quantum realm from Earth, made a startling discovery. The constant manipulation of spacetime was having an unexpected effect. It was awakening something. In the spaces between realities, vast intelligences stirred, drawn by the war's disruption of the cosmic order. As human and Zarkaf forces clashed across dimensions, these entities, which Patel dubbed cosmic arbiters, began to take notice. Neither alive in the conventional sense nor truly inanimate, they were the universe's immune system, roused to action by the war's violation of fundamental laws. Admiral Tanaka, her fleet now augmented by ships that phased between realities, realized the true scale of the conflict they had stumbled into. "We're not just fighting for humanity anymore," she told her officers. "We're fighting for the right of corporeal life to determine its own fate." As the cosmic arbiters approached, both humanity and the Zarkaf faced a choice: continue their war and risk the wrath of forces beyond comprehension, or find a way to coexist. Dr. Rodriguez, her mind expanded by insights from the quantum gorillas, saw a third option. "We've been thinking too small," she declared. "It's time to invite some new players to the table." With time running out and the fabric of reality straining under the weight of the conflict, humanity prepared to take its biggest gamble yet. They would attempt to communicate with the cosmic arbiters themselves, hoping to forge an alliance that would reshape the galaxy. As Carlos Mendoza led a team of quantum negotiators into the spaces between worlds, the future of not just humanity, but all sentient life hung in the balance. The war had evolved beyond a simple clash of species. It had become a battle for the nature of existence itself. And somewhere, in the quantum foam between realities, the cosmic arbiters waited, ready to pass judgment on the young races that had dared to knock on the doors of eternity. The symbiotic revolution. As humanity and the Zarkaf teetered on the brink of mutual annihilation, with cosmic arbiters looming in the quantum foam, an entirely unexpected factor emerged to reshape the conflict. Dr. Yuki Tanaka, formerly admiral, but now leading a covert research team, made a startling discovery in the depths of Earth's oceans. Hidden in the abyssal trenches, a previously unknown form of microbial life thrived, one that seemed to have an unprecedented ability to manipulate dark matter. "We've been so focused on the stars," Tanaka mused, peering through a quantum-enhanced microscope, that we missed the revolution happening right under our feet. These microbes, which Tanaka dubbed Umbra symbionts, had evolved in complete isolation, feeding on geothermal energy and cosmic rays that penetrated the ocean depths. Their unique biology allowed them to interact with dark matter, the mysterious substance that made up most of the universe's mass, but remained largely undetectable and untouchable to conventional matter. As news of the discovery spread, Dr. Rodriguez saw an opportunity that bordered on the absurd. If we can't beat them with technology, she proposed to a stunned war council, maybe we can evolve beyond them. The plan was as brilliant as it was insane. Volunteer soldiers and scientists would undergo a process to symbiotically bond with the Umbra microbes, potentially gaining the ability to manipulate dark matter. It was a leap into the biological unknown, with consequences that could redefine what it meant to be human. Carlos Mendoza, still reeling from his experiences as a quantum gorilla, was among the first to volunteer. After dancing between realities, he quipped, "Becoming one with the cosmic shadows doesn't seem so bad." The symbiosis process was agonizing and dangerous. Many volunteers didn't survive the initial bonding. Those who did emerge changed in ways that defied conventional biology. Their bodies pulsed with dark energy, and their minds expanded to perceive layers of reality invisible to normal humans. As the first squad of Umbra soldiers prepared for deployment, the Zarkaf launched a desperate assault on Earth. Their ships, armed with reality-warping weapons, tore through the quantum defenses humanity had established. But as the alien armada entered Earth's atmosphere, they encountered a resistance unlike anything they had ever faced. Carlos, his body now a conduit for dark matter manipulation, led the charge. With a mere thought, he could alter the gravitational fields around Zarkath's ships, causing them to implode or veer wildly off course. Other Umbra soldiers created temporary wormholes, redirecting enemy fire back at its source. The Zarkath, their technology suddenly rendered obsolete, found themselves outmatched by beings that seemed to defy the laws of physics. High Admiral Vextor, watching the battle unfold from his flagship, realized with growing horror that the humans had transcended traditional warfare altogether. But the Umbra symbionts had an agenda of their own. As the battle raged, the microbes began to influence their human hosts in unexpected ways. The soldiers started to perceive a vast network of dark matter filaments connecting all life in the galaxy, including the Zarkath. Carlos, floating above the Earth in a cocoon of dark energy, felt a sudden empathy for the alien invaders. He could sense their fear, their desperation, and the long history that had led them to this moment of conflict. "We've got it all wrong," he broadcasted to both human and Zarkath forces. "This war isn't about survival or dominance. It's about understanding." As if responding to this realization, the cosmic arbiters that had been approaching made their presence known. But instead of passing judgment, they seemed curious about the new forms of life that had emerged from the conflict. Dr. Rodriguez, her mind linked to the Umbra network, saw an opportunity for true cosmic diplomacy. "We're not just humans anymore," she declared. "We're not just Zarkath or cosmic arbiters. We're the universe becoming aware of itself." In a moment that would be remembered for millennia, representatives from humanity, the Zarkath Empire, and the cosmic arbiters converged in Earth's orbit. The Umbra soldiers, serving as translators across realities, facilitated a conversation that transcended language and individual consciousness. The result was a symbiotic revolution that spread across the galaxy. The Umbra microbes, carried by willing hosts of all species, began to create a living network of dark matter that connected worlds and civilizations. Traditional concepts of territory and resource scarcity became obsolete as beings learned to draw energy directly from the cosmic web. The Zarkath, their warlike culture transformed by this new connection, became teachers of quantum engineering to younger races. Humanity, having catalyzed this cosmic evolution, found itself at the forefront of a new era of galactic cooperation. The war that had threatened to annihilate them had instead propelled them to unimaginable heights. As the years passed, the boundaries between species blurred. Hybrid beings of matter and dark matter emerged, capable of reshaping reality with a thought. The galaxy itself became a living, conscious entity, with every inhabitant a vital part of its cosmic neural network. Carlos Mendoza, now more energy than matter, mused on the strange journey that had led them here. "We thought we were fighting for survival," he said, his words rippling through the dark matter web, "but we were really fighting for the right to become something more." And somewhere in the quantum foam, the cosmic arbiters watched with satisfaction as the young races of the galaxy took their first steps towards a destiny greater than anyone could have imagined. The war was over. The evolution had just begun. The chronosynclastic infundibulum. As the galaxy settled into its new symbiotic paradigm, an unprecedented phenomenon began to manifest. Vast regions of spacetime started to fold in on themselves, creating what Dr. Rodriguez dubbed chronosynclastic infundibula, points where all possible pasts, presents, and futures coexisted simultaneously. "It's as if the universe is trying to reboot itself," mused Dr. Patel, her consciousness now spread across multiple realities. Or perhaps, evolve. The infundibula presented both incredible opportunities and existential threats. Within these temporal maelstroms, cause and effect became meaningless. Entire civilizations could be born, rise, and fall in what seemed like moments to outside observers. Conversely, a single thought could ripple across eons, reshaping history itself. Carlos Mendoza, now more of a quantum probability field than a defined entity, took on the role of chrono-navigator. His experiences as a street artist, tactical genius, and Umbra Soldier had uniquely prepared him for the mind-bending task of guiding others through the Infundibular. "Think of time as a canvas," he explained to a group of wide-eyed recruits, his form shifting between past and future versions of himself. "We're not just painting on it anymore. We're weaving it, sculpting it, composing symphonies with moments as notes." But not everyone embraced this new cosmic order. A faction of purists, led by a mysterious entity known only as the Constant, emerged. They saw the chronosynclastic Infundibula as a threat to the natural order of the universe and sought to collapse them, even if it meant unraveling the very fabric of reality. The Constant's followers were a motley crew of temporal refugees, beings plucked from various points in history who believed their timelines had been corrupted by the Infundibula. They wielded weaponized nostalgia and crystallized regret, capable of calcifying moments in time and preventing change. As the conflict escalated, it became clear that traditional concepts of warfare were obsolete. Battles were fought across millennia, with victors becoming vanquished with a single alteration to the timeline. Entire species blinked in and out of existence as their evolutionary paths were rewritten. Dr. Rodriguez, her consciousness now expanded to encompass multiple temporal versions of herself, realized the true nature of the threat. "The Constant isn't trying to preserve time," she declared. "It's trying to end it, to freeze the universe in a single, unchanging moment." To combat this existential threat, Rodriguez proposed a radical solution: the creation of a temporal harmony orchestra. This group would consist of beings from across time and space, each representing a unique frequency of reality. Together, they would compose a grand cosmic symphony, using the chronosynclastic Infundibula as instruments to stabilize the fabric of space-time. The recruitment process was unlike any in history. Instead of selecting individuals, they chose entire moments: a Neanderthal's first use of fire, the last thought of a dying star, the birth cry of a galaxy. Each of these moments was personified, given consciousness and form within the Infundibula. Carlos took on the role of conductor, his quantum nature allowing him to perceive and direct the vast temporal orchestra. "Reality isn't just stranger than we imagine," he mused, raising his baton of crystallized time. "It's stranger than we can imagine, so let's imagine harder." The performance began, stretching across all of space and time. Supernovas from the dawn of the universe provided the bass line, their rhythmic explosions echoing through eons. The collective joy of a species achieving interstellar travel formed soaring melodies. The quiet contemplation of a philosopher pondering existence became a subtle counterpoint. As the symphony progressed, the chronosynclastic Infundibula began to stabilize. Rather than chaotic whirlpools of time, they became structured conduits, allowing controlled travel and communication across the cosmos and its history. The Constant and its followers found themselves swept up in the music, their rigid ideologies dissolving in the face of a reality more beautiful and complex than they had ever imagined. Many chose to join the symphony, their desire for stasis transformed into an appreciation for the dynamic nature of existence. As the final notes echoed across creation, a new cosmic equilibrium was established. The universe was no longer a static backdrop for events, but a living, breathing, evolving entity. Every moment, from the grandest celestial dance to the smallest quantum fluctuation, became part of an ever-changing cosmic composition. Dr. Rodriguez, observing from a vantage point outside conventional time, smiled. "We started this journey trying to save humanity," she mused. "We ended up saving the concept of change itself." Carlos, his form now a shimmering confluence of all his potential selves, nodded in agreement. And in doing so, he added, "We've ensured that the greatest adventures are still to come." As the newly harmonized cosmos settled into its rhythmic existence, new questions arose. What melodies awaited in the unexplored reaches of time and space? What symphonies could be composed with entire universes as notes? The war was over. The performance had just begun, and somewhere in the vast cosmic auditorium, reality itself settled in to enjoy the show. The metaversal exodus. As the cosmic symphony reached its crescendo, an unprecedented phenomenon occurred. The boundaries between fiction and reality began to blur, creating what Dr. Patel termed narrative singularities. Stories, myths, and legends from across the multiverse started to materialize, bleeding into the fabric of existence itself. "We've transcended mere time and space," Dr. Rodriguez observed, her form now a living constellation of ideas. "We're entering the realm of pure concept." The narrative singularities presented both wondrous opportunities and mind-bending challenges. Characters from age-old tales walked among sentient quantum functions. Entire mythologies sprang to life, their gods and monsters becoming as real as quarks and leptons. Carlos Mendoza, now less an individual and more a living story himself, took on the role of metaversal translator. His unique background, street artist, tactical genius, Umbra soldier, and cosmic conductor, had prepared him to navigate this new landscape where metaphor and reality were one and the same. "Think of existence as a living library," he explained to a group of bewildered cosmic entities, his form shifting between archetypal characters with each word. "We're not just reading the stories anymore. We're writing them, living them, becoming them." But this new paradigm brought unforeseen consequences. As more fictional realities materialized, the very concept of objective truth began to unravel. Paradoxes became commonplace, with contradictory narratives existing simultaneously. The line between creation and creator blurred to the point of non-existence. A new threat emerged from this chaos: the void editors. These entities, born from the collective fear of narrative inconsistency, sought to edit out any elements of reality they deemed contradictory or illogical. Whole swaths of existence banished, reduced to blank pages in the cosmic manuscript. Dr. Rodriguez, her consciousness now a living anthology of possible histories, realized the true nature of the crisis. "The void editors aren't preserving coherence," she declared. "They're ending the story itself. They're trying to write the end on existence." To combat this existential threat, Rodriguez proposed an audacious plan: the metaversal exodus. Instead of fighting the breakdown of reality, they would embrace it, guiding all sentient life into a new plane of existence beyond the constraints of traditional narrative. The preparation for this grand migration was unlike anything in the history of reality. Instead of spaceships or temporal vessels, they constructed living ideas, conceptual arcs capable of carrying entire civilizations across the boundaries of fiction and fact. Carlos took on the role of chief storyteller, his quantum nature allowing him to weave tales that could alter the very nature of existence. "Reality isn't just stranger than we imagine," he mused, his words reshaping the cosmos with each syllable. "It's exactly as strange as we imagine. So let's imagine something beautiful." The exodus began, stretching across all layers of reality. Planets became plot points, species transformed into extended metaphors, and individual lives turned into epic sagas. The collective knowledge of the cosmos was distilled into a grand narrative, with each being playing a crucial role in its unfolding. As they journeyed deeper into the realms of pure story, the travelers encountered wonders beyond comprehension. They sailed seas of liquid poetry, climbed mountains made of crystallized ideas, and breathed air composed of pure inspiration. The void editors found themselves overwhelmed by the sheer creative force of the exodus. Many chose to join the migration, their desire for narrative consistency transformed into an appreciation for the beautiful chaos of an ever-evolving story. As the last of the known universe faded behind them, transformed into legend and myth, the travelers arrived at the shores of a new existence. Here, in this realm of pure potential, the true nature of reality revealed itself, not as a fixed set of laws, but as an endless tapestry of interwoven tales. Dr. Rodriguez, now a living embodiment of scientific inquiry, smiled at the infinite possibilities before them. "We began this journey trying to save humanity," she mused. "We ended up liberating existence itself from the constraints of defined reality." Carlos, his form now a constantly shifting anthology of all possible characters, nodded in agreement. And in doing so, he added, "We've ensured that the greatest stories are yet to be told." As the survivors of the metaversal exodus settled into their new conceptual home, new questions arose. What tales awaited in the unexplored reaches of imagination? What sagas could be lived with entire realities as mere settings? The old universe was over. The new story was just beginning. And somewhere in the vast library of existence, reality itself picked up a pen, eager to see what would be written next. In this new metaverse, where thought and form were one, where every idea had the potential to birth worlds, the descendants of humanity found their true calling. They became the authors of existence itself, that every dream and notion spinning out new realities. And so the grand tale continues, ever-changing, ever-growing, a cosmic epic with no end in sight. For in this new realm, every ending is just the beginning of a new chapter, every conclusion the premise for a new adventure. The war was over. The story, infinite and eternal, had just begun.